The Old Fashioned is the top-selling cocktail in the world, so it's probably about time that you learn how to make one. I'm going to teach you the best technique to use so that you can give any seasoned bartender a run for their money. I'm also going to give you some inside information on the best products to use, and if that's not enough, check out the link below where I've taken a look at the extremely long history of the Old Fashioned. Now let's get making. Now the basic formula for this drink can be applied to any spirit. A recipe for a gin Old Fashioned actually predates any whiskey ones, and none of the early recipes specify whether to use rye or bourbon. If you want to know more about the difference between rye and bourbon, then check out the video in the link below, or watch until the end of the episode and we'll link through. To start, we'll prepare a lemon twist. Now I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Always make sure you have your garnish ready. You don't want to put all that effort into making the perfect drink just to have it sit and dilute on ice while you're faffing about with a lemon twist. One of my best friends is a very opinionated Canadian, and she vehemently maintains that lemon goes better with a rye Old Fashioned because it's a bit drier and fresher, whereas a sweeter and more fragrant orange twist is perfect for a bourbon Old Fashioned. I do tend to agree with her, and not just because she scares me a little bit. So I have gone for lemon on this one, but orange would also be delicious. In the true spirit of this no-frills cocktail, I like to keep the twist pretty rustic. So I just take a nice big thick piece of the lemon rind off, and then as always go back and trim off all of the white pith. We'll start with the supporting stars of this cocktail, that is the bitters. Bitters started off as medicinal, so using herbs and barks and roots to soothe sore tummies, but they're now mostly used by bartenders for their magical flavour enhancing and lengthening properties. Purists tend to stick to just Angostura in an Old Fashioned, or maybe some orange bitters if they're feeling a bit risque, but I've decided to make use of the massive wealth of crazy bitters flavours that we now have available to us thanks to the cocktail boom. One of my favourites is Dr. Adam Elmegirab's Aphrodite bitters. As the name suggests, these are packed full of aphrodisiacs, things like cacao, ginger, coffee and chili. Now I can't promise that this is going to get you lucky, but I can promise that it works amazingly well with the spice from the rye whiskey in this cocktail. So 2 dashes of Angostura bitters and 2 dashes of Adam Elmegirab's Aphrodite bitters. So you'll need about 5 to 10 mils of sugar syrup, depending on how sweet your taste is. The easiest way to mess up an Old Fashioned is to add too much sugar to begin with. So I usually start with 5 mils and then give it a little taste, and then you can add some more if you need to. Now you may have seen some bartenders put a sugar cube in the glass, dash it with bitters and muddle it. You can absolutely do it this way. I just find that using liquid sugar syrup, you have a little bit more control over it, and you also don't end up with any rogue undissolved sugar crystals in your glass, so it's a smoother texture. I've used regular white castor sugar in a sugar syrup which is 1:1, that is 1 part sugar to 1 part water. You can also use brown sugar or cane sugar for a little bit more depth of flavour. But just again, be careful that you don't end up overpowering the whiskey. So the easiest way to measure 5 mils is to use your bar spoon. So now the star of the show, you need 60 mils of Rittenhouse Rye. My palate tends to the drier and spicier end of the spectrum, so I've decided to go for a rye. That being said, Rittenhouse Rye is not particularly high in rye content, so you still have a nice fruitiness alongside the savoury spice. It's really considered a benchmark rye by bartenders, and it's definitely my go-to. It is also 100 proof or 50% alcohol by volume, so a bit stronger than your usual whiskies, so it can take the dilution in this cocktail. So now you want to fill your mixing glass with as much ice as physically possible and give it all a stir. Hold the glass at the base and just push the ice around using your bar spoon. When the mixing glass starts to feel cold against your fingers, give it a little taste and see if it's diluted enough. For me, this is delicious. I like to have a little bit of bite still there, but if you reckon that you would like a little bit more sweetness at this point, then feel free to add a couple of drops more sugar syrup. Grab your chilled glass out of the fridge or freezer and add in the biggest ice you can find. Hold the ice back using your julep strainer and pour over the ice in your glass. Hold the lemon twist with the rind facing out the way over the glass Give it a sharp fold so that the oils expel over the surface of your drink. And it's a no-frills cocktail, so just pop your twist in there. The old-fashioned. So now you know. Don't forget, stay tuned for the history of the old-fashioned. And while you're there, why don't you hit subscribe so that you'll never miss an episode.